Have you heard of Oda Nobunaga? He was not the man who peacefully unified Japan. He was not the man who created the long Tokugawa order. But without Nobunaga, the unification of Japan is almost impossible to understand. He was the shock that broke the old pattern. In the middle of the 16th century, Japan was not a single political world moving under one clear center. It was a landscape of rival warlords, shifting alliances, temple armies, merchant cities, castle towns, and old titles that still mattered, but no longer controlled events. Power belonged to whoever could organize men, money, weapons, land, and legitimacy faster than his rivals. Nobunaga understood this with unusual clarity. He was born in Owari province in 1534. Owari was not the largest domain, and the Oda were not the grandest house in Japan. Nobunaga began as a regional lord surrounded by enemies, relatives, and retainers who did not always trust him. Later stories remember him as strange, rough, even disrespectful. But beneath that image was a leader who could see the battlefield and the political map at the same time. His first great turning point came in 1560 at Okehazama. Imagawa Yashimoto was moving with a much larger army. Many observers would have expected Nobunaga to defend, retreat, or be crushed. Instead, he used speed, weather, surprise, and local knowledge. A small force struck at the right moment. Yashimoto was defeated, and Nobunaga suddenly became a name every power in central Japan had to notice. Okehazama did more than save him. It revealed the pattern of his career. Nobunaga was willing to move before other people were ready. He was willing to accept risk when the reward was strategic, and he was willing to ignore the size of an enemy if the enemy's position was weak. That is why Nobunaga matters. He did not simply win battles. He changed what winning required. Firearms had already entered Japan before him, but Nobunaga helped make them part of organized warfare. He paid attention to supply, discipline, roads, castle placement, merchants, and information. He saw that power in the Sengoku period was not just courage. It was a system. He also understood symbols. Control of Kyoto mattered because the old court and the shogunate still gave political actions a language of legitimacy. Nobunaga used old authority when it was useful and pushed it aside when it blocked him. That made him effective, but it also made him frightening. He treated temples, rival clans, and inherited privileges as political obstacles. If they resisted him, he could be merciless. This is the difficult part of Nobunaga's legacy. He was brilliant, but he was not gentle. He helped open markets and encourage new economic activity. He supported castle towns and new forms of rule, yet his campaigns also brought destruction, fear, and harsh punishment. A serious history channel should not turn him into a simple hero. His achievement and his violence were connected. The same refusal to accept old limits made him both transformative and dangerous. By the 1570s, Nobunaga was no longer just a regional lord. He was the central force in Japanese politics. Azuchi Castle symbolized the new world he was building. It was not only a military base. It was a statement. Power could be concentrated. Roads, towns, markets, and armed force could be organized around a new center. But Nobunaga did not live to finish that project. In 1582, at Honno-ji, he was betrayed by Azuchi Mitsuhide. His end was sudden, violent, and unfinished, yet the direction he had created did not disappear. Toyotomi Hideyoshi and Tokugawa Ieyasu would both build on the world Nobunaga forced into existence. So when we ask why Nobunaga matters, the answer is not simply that he was a famous samurai. He was the man who made the old order breakable. He showed that Japan could be reorganized through speed, technology, economic control, and political imagination. To understand the road from civil war to unification, we have to understand the force that first cracked the door open. To see this more clearly, think about the three worlds Nobunaga had to manage at the same time. The first was the battlefield. In the Sengoku period, a battle was never just two armies meeting in an open space. It was a problem of timing, supply, terrain, loyalty, and morale. Nobunaga's strength was that he did not romanticize war. He did not assume that bravery alone was enough. He asked what would actually make a force move, hold, fire, retreat, or collapse. The second world was economics. Armies needed money. Castles needed labor. Roads and markets could make a domain richer, faster, and easier to control. Nobunaga's policies toward commerce are important because they show a leader thinking beyond the sword. If merchants could move, if trade could expand, and if old monopolies could be weakened, then political power could grow stronger. The third world was imagination. This may sound abstract, but it matters. Nobunaga made people imagine that the impossible was possible. A provincial lord could enter Kyoto. A temple army could be defeated. A large clan could fall quickly. A new castle could become a new political center. Once people saw those things happen, the mental map of Japan changed. That is one reason his death did not end his influence. Honno-ji ended Nobunaga's life, but it did not erase the new expectations he created. Hideyoshi understood those expectations. Ieyasu understood them too. They both had different personalities and different political methods, but neither man returned Japan to the world before Nobunaga. They competed inside a future that Nobunaga had made visible. For overseas viewers, Nobunaga is sometimes introduced as a simple warlord, bold, violent, and dramatic. That is true but incomplete. His deeper importance is structural. He accelerated a process that was already underway. Local power was becoming organized. Castles were becoming administrative centers. Firearms were changing military planning. Commercial towns were becoming more important. Nobunaga pulled these pieces together with unusual force. And that force had a moral cost. If we admire only his innovation, we miss the fear he produced. If we condemn only his violence, we miss why he transformed the age. History becomes useful when we can hold both ideas at once. Nobunaga was creative and destructive. He was a modernizer in some ways, but not a modern liberal hero. He was a man of civil war who used the tools of civil war to push Japan toward a new order. That is why his story remains powerful. He shows how quickly a society can change when old institutions lose control, and one leader understands the new rules before others do. He also shows why change can feel terrifying to people who live through it. Nobunaga did not merely defeat rivals. He changed the rhythm of power. So when we say Oda Nobunaga broke old Japan, we do not mean that Japan suddenly became modern. We mean that he shattered enough of the older balance that a new political future became possible. That force was Oda Nobunaga.